welcome to the Rewatchables podcast. My name is Elijah Winfrey. I am your host for the night, and I say that because this is going to be a show where we kind of have different hosts each episode, I think, and it's going to be interesting because you never know what we're going to say here on this show. But we are excited to be with everybody tonight, and we are glad that you have joined us here on the podcast. So, I want to introduce the folks that are around me right now. We have got Nate Rucker, who is a regular on our On the Hunt podcast. He joins us on the Rewatchables podcast tonight. Nate, how's it going?
Oh, man, I'm chilling. I'm a little bit sleepy. I feel like I took some melatonin or something. I'm not sure, but I'm here.
Well, hey, I am happy that you're here. Kristian Fino. He is with us, the Phenom, Kristian Fino. He is a part of our special effects department here at Elijah Winfrey Studios, and this is the first podcast that Kristian is a part of for the studio. So, Kristian, welcome. And how are you doing tonight, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic today. Just chill, just active, just enjoying life as it is.
Well, hey, I am glad to hear that. We also have, wearing his cloak of invisibility tonight, Joshua King. That's right. So Joshua's not on screen, but Joshua, let folks know that you are alive and well, my friend.
I am, indeed.
All right. So Joshua is actually broadcasting, funny enough, because this is a movie podcast and kind of a pop culture podcast. He's actually broadcasting from inside the movie theater here in Messina, New York. So, but he is with us via I guess you would call it the phone line tonight, if you will. We also have got Jim Moscatello with us, and Jim plays Beckett, who is the guy on my shirt that you can see right now. And he's been in both films that we've done for the studio. He is also a part of the studio leadership. Jim, I think I fulfilled everything in your introduction and your contract. So how is it going, my friend?
It's going pretty good. We've got another convention coming up the day after tomorrow. We're super stoked on that. I'm swamped with work, but I'm here.
Well, hey, we love the fact that you're here. It seems like everybody's fairly busy. And I should mention, Joshua King is also a part of our special effects department. So that's one of the cool things about doing more podcasts is we're getting more of the studio members involved. That's what I love, because I can't do what I do without all the fellows that you see and the fellow that you don't. That's right. Now, got to give some love for Joshua. So with that being said, let's get into what we're here to do tonight, which is open up the Rewatchables podcast in a big way. So why do we call the show the Rewatchables? Because we all have those things that we go back to for comfort or nostalgia. So we are a show that likes to talk about new movies, yes, but we love to talk about films that we love to rewatch over and over again. And we also love to talk about video games that we love to replay over and over again. So that's the story behind the name. And as far as our first topic tonight, we're going to let you know what's coming out and what's currently out in theaters this weekend if you wanted to go see a movie. So here locally for us, we have got The Flash, which is in theaters. I went and saw that movie. I really enjoyed it. We also have got The Blackening, which is a horror film, and that one looks to be pretty fun. Jim doesn't like any of these movies, but we also have the Elemental, which is a Disney movie. There is also Fast 10. I mean, that's got to get Jim's blood going. I mean, Fast 10. Come on now. We're talking real cinema. Anyway, so we also have Transformers, Rise of the Beast. That's currently in theaters. Spider-Man, Across the Spider-Verse. That's currently in theaters. I haven't seen that one or Transformers yet. Got to check both of those out. We also have the Boogeyman and the Little Mermaid. And new this week will be the Jennifer Lawrence comedy No Hard Feelings, which I'm kind of interested in. I'll be curious to see what happens with that. So apparently none of those movies are good to the fellas, although I did see a couple thumbs up. So that's what's in theaters currently. And, of course, we all know everybody's getting ready for Jim's favorite movie of the year, Barbie. That's right. Jim, are you excited about Barbie, right?
I didn't even know they were making one of those.
Oh, come on, man. That's been the talk of the town. That and Oppenheimer. I'm actually really excited to see Oppenheimer. And I'm excited to see, Barbie as well. I'll say that. Like, I don't care if you try to take the man card away. I don't really care about that. for me, I'm a simple man. If I see Margot Robbie on the poster, I'm gonna buy a ticket. I'm simple.
You get a
But
pass because you're wearing the
One of the
Beckett
best.
I mean, okay. To be fair, that's a better excuse though, because it's Margaret Robbie, really. To be
And
fair,
shirt. I can't be mad about that.
right?
and I'm really excited about it, not just for like the superficial reasons, but I'm excited about it because Margot Robbie, I think, is one of the best actresses of late. You know, and I think
Ryan Gosling too. I'll give
and
it
Ryan
that.
Gosling's in it too, and I think that's going to be funny to see. So, but like I said, the Barbie movie looks kind of interesting. I'll be curious to see how audiences feel about that when that comes out. It's not this weekend though, so don't go say, "Hey,
I haven't saw the trailer for it. I've seen the posters or anything, but you know what? I'm quite curious because I like these two actors. I want to, give a fair shot at things, especially if it's something not to my interests or anything every now and then. But yeah, I've been quite curious of that. I've been about Barbie because I don't even know what the plot is really.
I mean, every character that Margot Robbie plays is phenomenal.
Yeah,
they're also massively messed up. So
Yeah.
That just makes it everyone's favorite right there too. So
obviously, when Barbie does come out, we're gonna have to do a whole episode on just Barbie. But tonight we do have other topics to get to. We're gonna start off with our movie segment. So this, like I was just talking about before, we are the Rewatchables. So what are we rewatching? All right, I'm gonna give you a perfect example of this. Then I'm gonna go around the room here. So for me, my rewatchable movie, and I rewatch this film about 3 to 5 times a year. Enemy of the State, starring Will Smith and Gene Hackman. It's one of my favorites. Here's briefly why I love this movie so much. Number one, I saw it as a kid with my dad, so it holds a special meaning because of that. My dad was one of those fathers who said, listen, you can watch the rated R movie provided that you don't repeat the language or the actions that you see in the film. And I did neither until I became an adult and I started making movies with a whole bunch of cuss words. But anyway,
so at least there's a twist to the reality right there.
Right. So for me, what I love about this movie is it is your David and Goliath type story. You have this man who is essentially on the run from the NSA. He doesn't know why they're after him until about 3/4 of the way through the movie. And so for me, I really like that because it's like, okay, so you're on your own against the government with all the tools they have. How are you going to win this big old game of hide and seek, essentially? I also love the fact that in this movie, Tony Scott, who directed it, he has so much great action in this film, but it's not at the expense of the dialogue. You see a lot of action films where it's a lot of explosions and things like that, but there's really not a whole lot of story there. Tony Scott doesn't do that in this film. And I love that because you can see the conversations, and the conversations are almost as exciting as some of the action scenes, because of the way that everybody in this film is kind of frantic and stressed out. And by the way, the cast of this film, absolutely amazing. You've got Jack Black in one of his first roles. You have Seth Green in one of his first roles. You obviously have Will Smith, Gene Hackman, but you also have Lisa Bonet in this movie as well. It's just jam-packed full of great performers in this one. And I won't spoil the ending, but I will say for me, when I first saw it, I never saw the ending coming. And now that I keep rewatching it, it's something that I desire in every single film I make, where you start off with one thing that seemingly, as you're watching it, you go, that's not going to play a part in the end. And then all of a sudden it comes back around and you go, that's why they showed us that within the first 5 minutes. So for me, I love Enemy of the State. It is a rated R movie, if I'm not mistaken. So obviously don't show your kids, or do. I don't care. They're your kids, not mine. So that's my rewatchable movie. Again, I rewatch it about 3 to 5 times. So with that being said, let's toss it over to Kristian. Kristian, what's your rewatchable film for episode 1?
So the most rewatchable movie I watched it. I actually watched it yesterday, really, which was called The Accountant, starring Ben Affleck and Anna Kendrick, J.K. Simmons, and John. If I can't pronounce, if I'm pronouncing his last name correct, John Berno, the guy who plays as the Punisher, the show one.
Okay,
he's in that. So basically, what that's about is
that's real.
What was it, Josh?
I think it's John Bethro.
Yeah, that's the one. Yep. Yeah. So the
Something
movie,
like that.
right. So the movie is about like an autistic man who works as an accountant, but he's an accountant for one of the most dangerous criminals of all, and he's a freelance accountant. So his entire base is what they call that ZZZ or something. It's a whole complete fabrication of what you would notice one of those like something unauthentic an accountant would have an office, an assistant, or anything like that. Fun fact. I'll make this short. That actually is a reference to an account firm that went bankrupt for
Okay.
fraud.
So is
Watch
it like
the movie, you'll be surprised. But in The Accountant, Ben Affleck's character actually has Asperger's syndrome. So I like the emphasis he puts in the character. He's very calm in demeanor, but like you can notice some signs that there's some like delays where he misses some conversations here. There's that one part where he lets one of his new clients so he can borrow a fields in exchange. He has them in their checking. I think that's how that works. There's a part where he just like closes the door, and one of his secretaries were like, there's a party my friend is throwing up and is throwing this weekend. And his response was, "Good to see you, Becky." So I'm like, okay, I see where he's going now with this, because he misses that part. But there's more to it to his character. His character actually knows how to like straight up fight. His father was a Marine. His mother left the family due to the fact that while he was a kid, he was hypersensitivities and all that kind of stuff. And the scene is very sad. It's a very sad movie. Also, it's an action thriller movie as well. So you're going to see some more dramatic parts as well as a lot of plot twists in this movie. And the action sequences are so great. Like because usually action movies, it's all about the action sequence and sometimes less of a conversational way that they usually pull up. No, this movie pulls off bars this tied up.
okay?
And the plot twist to the ending is where it kind of will leave you a bit like, there should have been more. There is an announcement that they're making a second sequel after that.
Nice.
But yeah, there's a lot of references I really like that they put into this story. But like the part where Anna Kendrick's character accidentally kind of cracks one code to the point where there's this famous robotics company that is opening up an account for Ben Affleck's character named Kristian Wolf, and apparently that got him in so much trouble that he paid Kristian to basically to just leave the entire firm up. Apparently something caught up, and that led to bodies being piled up, because apparently these are corruptive people. And not only that, there's some characters that you're going to be surprised that some of them are connections with the main character as well. So again, you're going to get a lot of plot twists like here and there, and the fighting sequences are actually brutal. In fact, I was doing research about this movie, and I found out that there is a sort of martial art that they are doing in these sequences called Pinkak, or if I pronounce it, it's Salat or Pinkak. It's something Indonesian type of like martial arts that people in UFC actually use, and is a good street fight thing or something, as far as I've looked into it. And I'm like, yeah, this makes sense, because I can tell by the way how a lot of the actions are, except for the weapons part, though. I don't know if that's part of the whole routine, but like I like to research like what type of fighting styles, like how Steven Seagal's movies are all basically Aikido, because that's what he does, But yes, the movie is my deep obsession, because because for once I just get so sick and tired of like movies where if they're going to focus on a main character with disability, it's always the drama, the tear jerking, the or a comedy or a stereotype or anything in between. This movie does not have. Well, there's a little tiny bit of it, but it's an accurate depiction. Whereas there's a part where the father had two of his boys. One of them was Christian Wolf, trained and learned how to face his problems instead of what the average parent would do is, put them in through ABA therapy or any of these types of things. No, this is not what he does. He has them do combat trainings and all these other kinds of stuff. When in the beginning, one of the caretakers says they would offer him like a program or something, he refused it. He refused it and did the other route, which successfully, it made the main character seem very well vigilant, except there's a bit of a PTSD thing going on here and there. And there's a scene that really shows it that would make a lot of sense. It would happen. And the whole movie kind of takes on a part where like there's a really good message towards you have to face whatever fear, whatever thing is going to come your way in life, no matter if you're able or disabled, it doesn't matter. That's the way I like how this movie kind of portrays.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds like there's definitely a lot of meat to that bone. For folks who want to check it out again, it's called The Accountant. Right now, we want to toss it over to Mr. Nate Rucker. Nate, obviously, you heard me and Kristian kind of go on about some of the movies we love. We know you love movies too. So what's one that you rewatch a lot, and how many times would you say that you rewatch it in a given year?
Well, I've changed it.
Okay.
Originally, I was going to do Bone Collector. Bone Collector, of course, is one of my favorites as well. But I changed it to Gladiator.
Good choice.
Starring Russell Crowe. The movie takes place back in the times and era of Julius Caesar and all these guys, and the Great Colosseum, and Russell Crowe plays a character by the name of Maximus, who is the favorite of the Caesar at this time, Marcus Aurelius. And so Marcus Aurelius is, his time is coming to an end, and they're going into this last battle against the barbarian horde. And after this battle is where he's supposed to name his successor. He also has a son, and his son name is Commodus. And of course, he knows that Maximus is the favorite. He knows this. Maximus is the fearless general. He's bringing, multiple victories back and forth. He's the macho man that when people look at him, like, what, that's the man right there. He does it all. So as everything continues, long story short, Commodus does what a jealous sibling or a jealous child may do. And he decides to smother his father so that he can get his way, because nobody's going to name Maximus because it's going by blood. So by him being the only son, it's automatically going to go to Commodus. And Commodus wants it to stay as an emperor. He wants it to be a dictatorship where everything is going to go through him. Marcus Aurelius wants us to go to a republic, which is pretty much what we have now, the type of government we have where everything is voted upon. And he, took it upon himself to get rid of his dad and get rid of, so he thought, Marcus Aurelius's favorite adopted should have been son. So, he takes him out to the field. They think they kill him, but in the meantime, they've killed his wife, they've killed his son, and they pretty much just think he's dead. He gets picked up by a slave trader, gets taken to, a guy who buys slaves. And he turns that around to become one of the best gladiators they've ever had. And everything comes full circle. It always does. And then he ends up back where he left off. And one particular scene, they're in the Colosseum. They're actually reenacting that battle where Maximus and his troops actually won and the barbarian were destroyed. But during this reenactment, Maximus and his guys actually win. And the crowd's chanting his name. And again, they all think he's dead. He's under this mask. And as we know what's coming. So he comes down and asks him what his name is. He says, "My name is Gladiator." And turns his back, which is a instant disrespect, which is truthfully instantly executed. But they don't do it. And he tells him, he says, "Slave, stop, turn around, remove your helmet and tell me your name." And it's one of the best scenes I've ever seen in any movie. I mean, like the climactic, like the delivery, the amount of rage that is in his eyes toward this guy, and the amount of fear that he gets when he sees him, it's epic. I'm not even gonna tell y'all what he says because I know it by heart, but it's the shit. I mean, and pretty much what it is, it's the unwarranted son against the favorite adopted son, so to speak, at the end. He's steady trying to prove himself, and no matter what he does, Maximus is always a favorite. If Maximus doesn't kill somebody, oh, he's Maximus the Merciful. If he destroys somebody, oh my God, Maximus is so powerful. Like he can do no wrong according to the people. Mm-hmm. And it's actually one of the statements that Communist uses is something that, like, you could say you could use in your everyday life. He says, "I want them to love me." He said, "But if they don't love me, how can they respect me?" I'm sorry, backwards. If they don't respect me, how can they love me? Because in his mind, I have to get that respect by any means. So right. if I get it by fear, if I get it by whatever, the love is going to come with it. Mm-hmm. The one thing that you can, when you're judging people in today's world, you can have people that you respect. You might not love them, you might not like them, but you respect them. Mm-hmm. And that's huge, because what would you, if you think about, what would you rather have in life? Would you rather have respect, or would you rather have love?
Right. That's a good question. So I don't want to take away from what you said, Nate, but I do have to ask a clarifying question. Okay.
What you got?
My hearing ain't what it used to be. All right. When you were talking earlier, and Joshua, get ready because we're going to go to you next. When you were talking earlier, did you say barbarian whore or barbarian?
I knew you was about to do that.
I was just asking a question. Like, is he going up against like the mean prostitute? Like, what's going on here? So, okay. All right.
Horde.
So, hordes. I'm about to add that to my vocabulary. Hordes.
I knew, because I know you. I knew which part you were going to go back to. And that's so terrible. I knew what you were going to ask. Well, it's almost like the hooker thing.
Well, it's funny because you can see my head turn on the footage, and I'm like, what did he say? And I'm like, don't interrupt him, though, because he's on a roll. Folks, we're going to toss it over to Joshua King. He is not talking about barbarian whores. He is talking about something different. Joshua, what's a movie that you watch a lot, my friend, and how often do you go back and rewatch it?
All right, so I wanted to make my first movie special. It came out 10 years ago. It is my favorite comedy of all time. It's called This Is the End. So it has an amazing ending. And one of my favorite bands of all time, because I was born in 1990. Not going to spoil it or anything, but it is one of the best endings out of every movie I've seen. So, it's about, so Jay Bradshaw, him and Seth Rogen meet in an airport, and, James Franco, because they play themselves. So, James Franco has a whole get-together party between Rihanna's there, Michael Cera's there. It's a whole cast of amazing actors and actresses. Well, it ends up going to shit because it's kind of like the end of the world. They're like preparing for the apocalypse, but they don't expect it. It's like surprising to them. And Danny McBride is he wakes up in.
Oh man. Okay, so it looks like we lost Joshua there for a second, but I think he's popping back in. So Joshua was talking about Danny McBride, and this is a movie that Joshua was talking about right now that I haven't seen a lot of, but what I have seen is hysterical. So I will have to go back and rewatch that. Joshua, are you there with us, my friend? Because you kind of cut out there for a second. Okay. So,
Yes, I am.
all right. So you were talking about Danny McBride. Take it away, my friend.
Yeah. So he comes downstairs, and kind of like COVID, they're trying to like stock up on things like food, like drugs and all that stuff. And Danny McBride is like, he cooks them food for breakfast when they wake up, and they're like, "What are you doing with our food?" And so they're like trying to like take it away from him. It's like, you gotta savor this because he don't know what the heck's going on. And so then Emma Watson comes in, and she's got an axe and she's trying to survive just like the rest of them, because it turns in from a whole cast of characters to just like the main like actors like Seth Rogen, James Franco, Danny McBride. I forgot to mention Craig Robinson.
I think Joshua was going to say that Craig Robinson is hilarious. Joshua's kicking back in now. Hey, you got to love technology, right? Because they can tell how passionate Joshua is about this movie, and he keeps cutting him off. But Josh, you were talking about Craig Robinson. Bring it home for us.
Yeah, he is he's just so great and everything. I just he's in Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, which I'm a huge fan of those movies. And he was talking about because they were in court talking about Saban Studios, and he's the judge or whatever, and he goes, "Isn't that the studios owned by the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers?" And because Saban makes it now, but all in all,
he was so close that time. Joshua's popping back in. He was so close. He's like, all in all, nothing. But Joshua, I'm sure we will get this figured out for Joshua here.
it keeps cutting out.
But Joshua, you were saying all in all.
So it's all about them surviving as a group together. So they have differences at first, and then they just learn like they got to work together as a team. They got to savor all the food. And Danny McBride, he's just ridiculous. He's just like drinking another cup of water, and he's like, "Oh, well, I'm having another sip of water or another cup," and they're like, "You can't do that." Well, so there's a couple surprises in there, like Chatham, he's in it. They got a whole bunch of characters in there, actors and actresses. But yeah, so that's pretty much all I got, but I highly recommend checking it out.
All right, and that is again called This Is the End. This is the End. That was a movie Joshua was talking about. Let's give it up for Joshua, by the way, for making sure that he got through that. And Joshua, a huge fan of movies, and I'm really excited to see what Joshua says, and the rest of the guys too, as we continue to move forward. But I don't want to forget about Jim Moscatello, because Jim is not gone yet. So Jim, we're going to wrap up this movie segment with you, my friend. And I'm thinking you're talking about Pee-wee's Big Adventure, right?
No, I know they just came out with one, but I'm actually going back to 1986. The movie that I absolutely love to watch, I probably watch it about 15 to 20 times a year, is the original 1986 animated Transformers movie. Because in no other place do you get Peter Cullen, Orson Welles, Frank Welker, and Leonard Nimoy, and a whole cast of other amazingly famous people acting in one single movie. And they introduced a character that we just saw again in Transformers Rise of the Beast, and that was Unicron, basically the Galactus of the Transformers world. And I honestly think in that movie it did it better than the one that we just got. Because in that movie, you saw Unicron, he was massive. He had this big, really intimidating, booming voice provided by Orson Welles. You actually got Megatron, because the newest one, we didn't even get Megatron in it. And you see Unicron transform Megatron into Galvatron, and then he's voiced from in the first part of the movie, he's voiced by Frank Welker, and then when he gets reformatted into Galvatron, he's voiced by Leonard Nimoy. The whole movie itself is just an absolute amazing experience. And it is a much larger scale than what the Transformers have become now. There's a whole cities that transform into giant robots versus, well, here are the Maximals. We're not really going to introduce them, but here they are, because the entire kids from the 90s all wanted the Maximals. The movie starts off with a huge battle in Autobot City on Earth. You see just incredible amounts of destruction. Optimus Prime gets axed within the first quarter of the movie. You see everybody flying off into space to fight Unicron. You see Hot Rod, who is basically this teenage Transformer. And it's really a coming of age, because you watch him go from being this really fly by the seat of your pants kid Transformer, go from that to having to be the leader, getting the matrix of leadership and destroying this giant planet-eating Transformer who has so much power and so much energy that he can basically transform other Transformers into his own thing and make them his minions. And I mean, and even take dead ones and turn them back into living ones. And you watch Megatron go through his whole arc where first he wants to kill Optimus Prime and take over. Then he becomes Unicron's slave. Then he's basically trying to double cross Unicron and kill him. I mean, the movie itself is just it is non-action. And I mean, even though it was animated, even though it's from 1986, it's still really good. And I mean, and the addition of the fact that it's basically got those, big hairband numbers from 1986 is just all the way on top of that.
Very cool. Very cool. I have to say, like, when it comes to Transformers, I do like Transformers. For me, I don't know if I've seen the animated one, so I'll have to check that out again just to say I did it. But I do remember catching the cartoon from time to time when it was on when I was little. And the two movies that I really liked, and I know a lot of people nowadays don't like them or don't want to admit that they liked them when they came out. But for me, I like Transformers 1 and Transformers 2 with Shia LaBeouf and Megan Fox and that whole crew. Like, I really enjoyed those movies. But then when Megan Fox left the third one, she wasn't there. The third one was all right, but like it didn't give me enough to want to stick around for the ones that came after it. However, I did see Bumblebee, and I love the Bumblebee movie. So
Yeah.
it's on my radar that, like, I got to get back into this because, hey, I can't say something's bad if I haven't tried it. That's kind of what I try to do. But I know there's some people out there who are like, this is a series that, like, it's like Chris Farley falling down a cliff. Like, at first you're like, he's going to make it. And then he starts tumbling. And that's how I would explain the Transformers franchise to anybody, is that, like, we're waiting for them to kind of get their footing back. And from what I've heard, this new movie's great. I haven't seen it. I don't want any spoilers for it either.
It's good. It's good. It's good.
Yeah.
I will say
It's good.
that the way that they presented the 1986 movie, so they did season 1, season 2 of the original cartoon, and then the 86 movie came out, and then they did season 3 where they reworked a little bit of it and tried to explain Unicron's origin just a little bit, and it was slightly different. But for the most part, I mean, it basically went right in line with the movie. So the movie was basically not like, oh God, what franchises have we had movies in where the movie itself was absolutely different than Power Rangers, the first movie.
Okay.
So it wasn't like
you're coming after my childhood, so you tread carefully because I like that movie.
It wasn't like that, where the origins of their ninja powers are completely different than what the actual show is.
Mm-hmm.
The show and the movie kind of interlock on the broad strokes. The finer points, they're still really sketchy, but the one thing about the movie at the time and what it was then and what it is now, because back then Unicron was a multiversal singularity, so he was the same being in every iteration. It was the exact same one.
Okay.
And then in 2012 they created a comic book that split all the singularities into their own individual sources. So Unicron's been around for several different movies and shows, and every single time, if you watch the 86 movie, the animated G1, Beast Wars, Armada, Cybertron, all that, it was the exact same character.
Okay.
Beast Wars is good. I love Beast Wars.
Okay, Beast Wars,
One of my favorite cartoons growing up.
Beast Wars was great. I loved seeing how they took those characters on the new movie, but they need to do more with them.
Well, hey, hopefully they will. With that, we're going to move on to our video game segment here, fellas. So we got to retool everything, and we're going to go with the same lineup we had for the last topic. So I will start us off. So as I said at the beginning, we are the Rewatchables, meaning we're going to be talking about new stuff, but we're also going to be talking about things that we love that we go back to for nostalgia, comfort, or just because it's freaking kick-ass. So I'm going to go with one that is kind of all three of those things for my video game that I replay quite a bit. All right. And it's actually 3 games, but it's the same franchise. So I'm not cheating and I'm not taking any extra time on this one. But I'm going to talk about all 3 of them because I'm pretty sure all of us played at least one of these versions.
That sounds like that sounds like cheating, Elijah. But
That sounds like Batman Arkham.
So I am going to go back to 1996.
Oh, God.
1996 for me. Obviously, I was born in 93. I'm kind of like the baby of the group. But anyway, so it's Pokemon.
Oh,
Pokemon
good God.
Red, blue, and yellow. Okay.
God, bro.
Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow. My favorite is Red because it's got the greatest Pokemon to ever exist on the cover, Charizard. He's my man. Okay. And I love Pokemon. All right. It was one of those things that was extremely comforting to me as a kid. I thought it had a lot of good life lessons in it. If you actually watch like the Indigo League series, I will say though that like I kind of ended up getting out of it as they got to like gold version. That's kind of where I kind of exited my fanhood, so to speak.
So right where it got good. Got it.
In recent years, I've been getting back into it. But for me, I really love that Pokemon franchise. And it's a game that I can pop in and pick up. And I don't feel like I need to play it all the time. Like there's some video games out there, especially recently, where like, I don't want to say you get more points for the more times that you play, but it's like people go on marathons with some of these things. And for me, what I love about Pokemon is the fact that I can pick it up on a Tuesday, set it down, not play it again until next Friday, and I'm okay. And it's still just as fun as it was when I played it the first time. So I actually have a Game Boy Color that I will play some of the Pokemon games on. I don't have it with me like right now to show you, but I have it over in my desk. And we actually got a Nintendo Switch recently, my wife and I did, and we got the new Pokemon games on there, and I started playing those. So I've started kind of getting into the newer Pokemon. And last bit on Pokemon before I toss it over to Kristian, I was in Walmart the other day.
Oh, Jesus.
And one of the things, when I say the other day, that could be like in the past 6 months. I'm bad at that. But anyway, I was in Walmart recently. That's a better way to say it. And I was walking by the DVD section, as I always do, okay, because I'm always on the hunt for films. And I saw Indigo League in Blu-ray. So it's like the first 50 episodes of Pokemon in Blu-ray. And that was something I've been looking for like 2 years, because I had already picked up Dragon Ball Z seasons 1 through 4, because I love Dragon Ball Z too. When I saw that, I have never grabbed something so quick off a shelf, because I said I have to have that because it's difficult to find. So I just wanted to throw it out there to, maybe folks who are looking for Pokemon Indigo League. They do have a Blu-ray version of it, and it might be in your Walmart, which is kind of a crazy part to think about. But for me, I saw that, grabbed that. That's on my shelf, and I've been building out my 90s cartoon section over the past couple of months to make sure I got everything for whenever I have kids. That way I can show them what I grew up watching. But anyway, so we're going to toss it over to Kristian here. I talked about Pokemon. I have no idea what game Kristian chose to talk about tonight. So Kristian, go ahead.
Well, I've been getting back into gaming since it's been quite a long time. And the one game that I'm really getting into, and I have been having still a bit far behind on still gaming because I have a simple friend that keeps visiting on and off, back and forth, and now I'm telling him, okay, give me space. I need it now because you've been playing that GTA 5 live like for the past freaking 4 weeks. I'm done. Need a break. I don't care what your friends say. I'm done. Go the F home, please. Just go home. All right. And the game that I'm playing right now is Red Dead Redemption 2. I know I'm a little far behind on games. Like, it's been a while for me because I've been too self-obsessed with goals and stuff and the whole career and the money thing. But unfortunately, as I start to kind of realize that, unfortunately, even no matter how obsessed I am, you know, you're not going to enjoy what the present as much. Even if miraculously by success, you're not going to enjoy life for what it is. You know, in that obsession, it's one of those phases that I'm glad I'm not the only one that went through that. But as far as I played Red Dead Redemption, I'm really glad that I actually bought it online, like through my PlayStation Store. I didn't get it through a hardcover or anything. But so far, and I love Western games, but what I did not know is that this was the prequel to the first Red Dead Redemption game. I had no idea that was really truly the case, because there were some characters that were coming right in where I was like, wait a minute, I recognize her. What's going on here? What is going on? Because I love playing, you know, games like first person shooter games, all open world, and I'm more about story, and so, and you know, that's the same thing with GTA. I don't mind playing live, but I'm just an immersive gamer. I don't care for the points. I don't care for the streaming, what all these people do. In fact, I miss the old times of playing games when it was you could play with more than one person. If it was a 2-player game right next to somebody, it was more fun that way. I don't know. Maybe I'm an old soul for this, but I just find the whole online streaming thing not so fun. I mean, it looks fun when you watch those YouTubers doing it, but no, I've personally seen a friend, and I was far off the corner, so that way I'm not caught in the background. I've seen him video stream, and oh my God, there's some people out there that really just want to get under that person's skin like so bad. And I'm like, oh, you know, I remember the old days when it was used to be in person and people would actually be careful what they say because you don't want to start. But online, though, they'll just they'll say it because they think they can get away with it. Where it's like, one of my buddies was upset, and I whispered right through the microphone. I'm like, you know, I know where you live. But anyways, and Red Dead Redemption, I love how the game was setting off where I can't remember the main character's name. It's still been a while for me to play this game. So far, getting used to the controllers, but with the story part of it, we were just like hanging right out of a hiding spot in a campsite, and I really love the way how you're following through the story, and then there's like pop-ups of like, you know, animals that you didn't even expect is coming right at you or anything, and I'm like, geez, I thought this other game called Outlast was scary. That was a scary moment for me in Red Dead Redemption when a bear just came at me, but from behind, and I didn't even notice it. I'm like, geez, this just scared me the same way as how Outlast did. And I played 2 games, and the second one took me about a year and a half to finish. Because sometimes I can't deal with like pop-ups very well. That's the same thing with horror movies. I can't deal with well, it's mainly the music. I don't care if somebody suddenly come right up, but when that music, that thud music, it's more like, nope, I'm dropping the controller. Forget it. This is the same thing I did with Resident Evil 7. To this day, I still have not beat that game. I'm sorry, but it's too much. And I thought Red Dead Redemption was calming, and then that bear came right up, and I'm like, you know what? I'm out. I'm done. I'm not doing this again. That, you know, oh my God, I can't deal with pop-ups. I love surprises, but I hate when stuff like that happens. I hate it. I have bad anxiety when stuff like that happens. I can't deal with it. But Red Dead Redemption, I like the choices where if say like you accidentally shot somebody, or even if you purposely did it or anything, you have to really I don't know if this is historically accurate, but you would have to actually pay your due or fine or something, and then charges will drop. And I'm like, that simple, really? Jesus.
Don't get any ideas, Kristian.
I'm like, no, but I could see people out there having this vigilante idea where it's like, oh, we should bring something like that. And, oh, great. Now I'm scared of politics even more for that. If they ever try something like that, there's a reason why that's never allowed anymore, because in that game, it kind of does prove that, you can just pay your dues, so you can just do it again. It's like, this is the same thing what people in church do. They get their Hail Marys and they do the same shit over and over again. And then next thing you know, it's 15 or 50 plus more Hail Marys, no matter what they confess right after that. It's like, have they learned anything the second time? No, you just had to do it 5 plus more times in a row. Like, my God, how many Hail Marys is that going to take for you to not make a bloody mess?
Let's pass it over to Nate. Nate, my friend, your video game that you picked.
I have one. I just changed it. And it's an old school game. Not really too old, but I'm a sports guy. So, and that game is Fight Night. And which is, it's got the first one had Roy Jones Jr. on the cover, and you've got all the great boxers, every weight class, from Floyd Mayweather to Muhammad Ali to Floyd Patterson, Sammy Liston, Jake LaMotta, Jack Dempsey, all of them, man. And you can create your own character to make your way to the title, or you can start as one of the guys and then break your way all the way up. But, you're training, you're getting your own matches, and it's funny because you within the game, you've got to work, you got to cut man. So if you've got beat up in that first round, then, your eye is busted up. So now you have to take the controller and you're moving your fingers real fast, trying to get your cut man to put the Inswell and Vaseline on it, take your eye down. So it's just pretty good, man. That's mine is short and sweet. That's it for me. Fight Night is the one. Fight Night is definitely the one for me.
Very cool. And hey, by the way, as we're talking about these, I should mention, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. That helps our channel out way more than you would ever know. We're currently trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, and I believe we're knocking on the door of 400, which is crazy to think about. So if you like this show, if you like what we're doing, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and tell us what your favorite, movie is that you rewatch all the time. It might be something we've never heard of before. Same thing with the video games. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to start that dialogue in that comment section below. We will get back to everybody that leaves a comment. And if you leave a question, it could even end up being a part of the show. So, if you got a question about video games or movies, feel free to do that too. Right now, we're going to pass it over to Joshua, and I'm hoping that everything will work out as Joshua tries to talk to us here. So, Joshua, you may have to be brief, my friend, to make sure that the signal holds up. But what's a game that you love that you play a lot?
So like I said, like you said, it's a franchise. It's Kingdom Hearts. It's my number one favorite game franchise of mine, because it involves Disney characters going into this main character goes into all their worlds and tries to unlock the keyhole, because there's these things called enemies called Heartless trying to ruin the world. And he's got this blade called the Keyblade that can unlock doors, but he finds the keyholes in each world and tries to lock it, basically, so that it's no longer in darkness. But it's got a whole cast of Disney characters like Beast, Belle, Mulan, Stitch. It's got Donald as your partner, Goofy as your partner, and Mickey Mouse even makes appearances in it. So yeah, it's definitely a good game to check out. If you like Disney and you like adventure games, it is definitely a good choice.
All right, and that is Kingdom Hearts. That's Joshua's pick there for video games, and that's a good pick too. Because I will say that my wife does play Kingdom Hearts, and obviously she plays Pokemon as well, and she's played all of the Pokemon games. Whereas I'm more like the original stuff is where I'm at, but like she's played all of them. She's like it's super serious in this household. That's all I'm saying. So anyway, let's go over to Jim Moscatello to close us out on our video game segment. My friend, what video game is your favorite? If you say Tetris, you're gonna make me disappointed.
No, it's not Tetris. So like you, Eli, my game is actually a number of games. Because they couldn't fit it all on just one. It's called Legacy of Kain.
Oh yeah, I love those games.
Yep, it is legitimately one of the best overarching series and most confusing ones that you could ever play. Because
Yep, totally agree.
The first Legacy of Kain game is called Blood Omen. From Blood Omen, you go to Soul Reaver 1, Soul Reaver 2, Legacy of Kain Defiance, and then Blood Omen 2. Because there's about 6 times in the game where the actual history of the game in the world that the game takes place in is altered by the characters.
Okay.
So you start off with one linear timeline of history, and then it skews into another one, and then from there it skews into a third one, and then from there it skews into the final one. And it takes place over the course of 5 games.
Nice.
You officially play as this vampire lord named Kain, who died as a case of murder, was given the Heart of Darkness, brought back as a vampire, goes through the process of basically taking over the world, murders his lieutenant after taking over the world. His lieutenant comes back, chases his vampire butt all over time, ends up condemning the world to hell, and then the younger version of the ruler of Kain ends up saving the world, but because of the fact that the whole version of that timeline couldn't happen without the other stuff, there's actually, if you look into the storyline, there's supposedly at the same time that this younger version is there saving the world, there's a second version of him that's older that's already lived through an entirely different timeline.
Okay, that sounds pretty interesting. And you said
I
that
play this game because it sounds like something I would want to play. Right,
dude, it
It's
is
badass.
what's it called? What's it called again? I lost track.
So it's Legacy of Kain is the series name.
okay.
The first one's Blood Omen, then Soul Reaver 1, Soul Reaver 2, Legacy of Kain Defiance, where you actually play as both Kain and the dead Lieutenant Soul Reaver known as Raziel. And then Legacy of Kain Blood Omen 2 is the skewed timeline where it's a younger version of Kain that wouldn't exist without the interference of the Soul Reaver and older version of Kain.
Okay. So yeah, we'll definitely have to check those out. The series Legacy of Kain, and Jim just gave you all the individual titles there. So what we're going to do right now that we've gotten through everybody, I'm double checking here. Yeah, we got through everybody on the video games. We got through everybody on the movies. We're going to go to trading cards, okay? And we're not going to spend a long time on this before we get to our closing remarks, but we do want to do a little bit of cards. I will tell you, the gentleman who usually will be in my seat, Bobby Bless, he knows so much about trading cards and how to protect them, how to keep them safe. So this is really his jam, but we're all playing the tune tonight, in his absence. So, and I'm sure Bobby will be watching this later, and I'm excited to see what Bobby does especially in this trading card segment, because we plan on having like live openings of trading cards for you in future episodes. But tonight, I believe Jim is our card guy. So, Jim, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pin you on the screen. So you're going to be the only person on the screen for everybody to look at. No pressure. And what I want you to do here is tell us a little bit about what we're looking at, and then do me a favor when you're showing us a card, make sure that it's what we see on the screen. Okay.
Yep. So tonight we've got for me, cardboard crack has always been a thing, and that's exactly what trading cards are. Is they are legitimately the legal version of crack. You spend thousands of dollars on them. You might get something good, but oftentimes you take a really bad trip.
Okay. All right.
So my fiance and I recently got back into trading card games for better or ill after our business started to really succeed, and we needed something to do with all of our free time and most of our money.
Okay.
So we decided to jump into a game that was reintroduced during the pandemic because, God help us, we didn't have enough problems during the pandemic. They decided to reintroduce a game that started about 20 years ago, died, and then apparently came back from the dead after COVID killed it. So we got into the new Digimon trading card game. This is the newest booster pack.
Oh, nice
box. It's called Across Time. This box is about 100 cards. Now, the thing with the Digimon packs and the Digimon card game is you can have different sets worth of cards. So you can have, for example, my deck is one of my decks is Paeldramon. So there are 3 or 4 different versions of Vmon from different cards. So
okay.
I've already opened up a few of them, but we're just going to pull a couple of choice cards. Now, this one has what's known as the Royal Knights in it. The Royal Knights were the biggest and baddest Digimon for the Digimon Cyber Sleuth and Digimon Hackers adventure games on the Nintendo Switch. And there are a bunch of different variants, so I'm just going to pull a couple of them right now. Now, there are Digimon from like every iteration.
Right.
For example, we've got Shoutmon. If you watch the actual show...
Might have to pull that back closer to your face, Jim.
So, yeah, if you watch the actual show, this is the one from that really weird season where 3 kids went to the digital world and somehow the Digimon kind of combined with each other and then basically Digimon Megazords. We're going to go with that. It's just Digimon Megazords.
That works. Show us 4 more and then we'll call it a night.
You got it. Then we've got this one, which I'm sure everybody will probably recognize. This is Paeldramon, Dragon Mode from the original series from season 2. Ancient Wisemon, again from one of the newer series. And then we'll end it off with the high note from the original series of Digimon, Metal Greymon. The benefit of the Digimon Cardboard Crack is that Digimon Cardboard Crack is the basically it's the blue magic worth of crack for like what was the movie American Gangster, where you still get the hardline cardboard crack, but it's at a much less expensive, premium price.
You crack me up. If cardboard crack is not going viral, then we didn't do our job right. Like, anyway, Nate's just shaking his head. Nate's like, y'all have had enough. I've had enough of this. So, Nate, we are going to go to you for our closing remarks. We're going to go Nate first, and then I'll let everybody kind of say their piece before we wrap this up. But, Nate, I know you got to go. So, closing remarks, my friend.
You're on mute, bro.
I think he laughed.
He said, "Oh boy, oh boy." There we go. He's gonna unmute here. I'm sure he's gonna catch on. He's got to unmute. There we go. Hey,
I told you. Look, I told you, doing it right. Hey, look. But no, man, I'm glad to that everybody, was able to get the first show under the belt. This way, they can go back
have an intervention. Understand why we're doing this.
So I was going to say, go ahead. He looked like he's chugging Guinness, but man, it was very good, especially to see the type of movies that everybody like. Just the type that gives you an idea of how that person mind works, what type of person they are. That as well as the games, and from what I can tell, everybody, there's a lot of very complex personalities, which to me is going to be huge with this show going forward. So hey, man, I can't wait to just sit back, watch the success, and cheer them on.
I totally agree. Joshua, let's go for your closing remarks because I know your signal strength is a little iffy. So, closing remarks. What do you want people to take away from this first episode, my friend?
I absolutely enjoyed it, and I hope people tune in. Everybody has great ideas and talk about like movies and games and so on, and definitely a great first show.
All right, Jim, we're gonna go to you for your closing remarks, my friend.
So, definitely had a fun time with you guys tonight. No, this is not Guinness. This is SodaStream. I wish this was Guinness because this would be an amazing drink to end the day. It's been unreal, guys. Check us out at Rail City Comic Con this upcoming weekend, and then at AnchorCon in August on the 19th and 20th. I promise we won't be by the Scary Puppet Show.
There you go. Yeah, that is an inside joke. We'll keep it indoors. So, hey, we want to go to Kristian. Kristian, your final remarks, my friend, here on this episode 1.
Well, I had a really great time for the first episode and this show, talking about interests on movies, games, as well as trading cards. However, as well as with the trading cards, I will actually pick up on stuff like that because it's been a while for me. I mean, I used to be so big on Yu-Gi-Oh! In fact, I don't know what happened to my old deck that I've had since, believe it or not, since I've had it since preschool or middle school. I'm still trying to find it. If I find it, from what I was told from a friend, that would have been worth a lot, and I mean a lot of money. So, in other words, but I'm thinking of like try out some trading cards again because it's been so long. But I'm really glad that we had a discussion on what's one of our most favorite movies that we watch and what it reminds us, and what captivates us. And that's the same thing with games because we're visceral. We're visceral people. We love things that fascinates us, as well as most of us is immersive or a strategist, or in any cases, we all resemble exactly what our own strengths are. And I have a cat with me that right now wants to join in and say hi.
Yeah, it's funny because everybody's animals are participating. I have Slinky Dog, but she's in the other room right now. So I will close this out by saying this. I want to thank you for watching the first episode of the Rewatchables. I hope that you will like, comment, and subscribe so that we can, continue this dialogue moving forward. Again, remember, yes, we are the folks who are on the show, but it's your show too. So, we can't do what we do without you. So leave us some comments. That way we have some directions to go in for future shows. And we hope that you'll tune in the next time that we get the gang together. So, again, I do want to thank Nate Rucker. I want to thank Kristian Fino. I want to thank Joshua King and Jim Moscatello. Also, he wasn't here tonight, but I want to thank Bobby Bless because Bobby Bless really kind of got this thing going. And if it wasn't for him, we would not have been doing this show at all. So my hope is that he will be on future episodes. And I want to thank him again for saying, hey, let's do that. Let's do another podcast. Because right now we got a bunch of them here on the Elijah Winfrey Studios YouTube channel. So make sure you check out all the other content here. And with that being said, as I usually say to people, be good to yourself, be good to others. In that order, we'll talk to you real soon. This is the Rewatchables Podcast.